Good morning, it's Norma Cowie, and I'm here for Wednesday's talk on metaphysics. Good morning, Karens. Nice to see you here bright and early. It came to me a couple of days ago how important self-talk is. And so I thought it would be a good topic for today, actually. And I was sitting here getting ready when a thought came to my head. It said, go look in your little God box insight cards. So I did. And this was this card that came up. Oh, I've got my finger in the wrong place. There we go. Now it says the universe is a great mirror. Everywhere I look, I see myself. And on the back side, I've got to remember what it says. Also, I just say the title. The universe has ears. And when I criticize others, I criticize myself. When I bless others, I bless myself. And why the whole thing has come up for me again the last few days is I started a new exercise element regarding my legs, my feet, my knees. I have a lot of, it's a genetic thing, but it's, as I said to someone the other day, I'm just like my mother. It's like I'm in kind of different face, a little bit different face, but definitely similar body. And anyway, this new element that I was trying on, which I thought would really stimulate everything within my lower legs and my knees, has left me with knees that hurt and don't want to walk and feet that are sore. So I was finding myself just the other day having to really support myself. Like, come on, you can do this. It's kind of like your own cheering system. And it brought to mind, I've been like that for a long time now, but I find that a lot of people don't do that. They look at the basic thinking. And we do teach that in metaphysics. Be aware of your thoughts because it creates your vibrational rate. So people are thinking when they sit down and they plan and they make sure that they are thinking in positive reinforcement thoughts. But when it comes to self-talk, often people are very critical with themselves. They really get on their case. And it's very easy to do because we tend to run into a lot of judgment. And the word should have or got, ought to have, or even got to when we're projecting ahead can be very much in our inner language. Maybe not generally, but when it comes to the self, like, come on, you can know how to do it. So it's a real strength to be able to be your own cheerleader, basically. And I find very often in my life, I've had to do that. I've had to really be my own cheerleader. And so it's a matter of being able to recognize when you're getting on top of yourself in your own mental thoughts, when you're criticizing rather than supporting. So what's the difference? Criticizing says, you can do this. Like, how come you're not doing this? You know how to do this. But there's a critical element to that. Whereas when you're supporting, what you're doing is saying, come on, you can do this. Come on, you know how to do this. That reinforcement becomes really, really important. And it is a large part, I think, that's often overlooked when people are talking about positive thinking. Positive thinking is definitely a way we go, but not to the point where we're not being honest. Sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves because our vibration has a wide band. We have our top thinking, and then we have our deep thinking about who we are, what we could be, what we should be. I dealt a lot in my life often with the word should. I didn't fit in lots of ways, tall and skinny as a kid. If only now. Um, I, I I was athletic, yes, but I was never the best. It's like one of those you're there, but you're not totally there. You know, there's always somebody faster, somebody quicker, somebody more flexible. And I was pretty flexible and I was pretty fast. I played field hockey for years until I had to go to work. And well, no, even then I played until I came to Canada. I played field hockey, and I was on the top half of the team. That's for sure at that time. Well, then when I came here, I had children, and then I was busy with their sports. But it's basically learning how to be able to be out there supporting yourself in the direction that you want to go. And as I said earlier, was I was walking around my apartment here, giving myself like, come on, you can do this, et cetera, was something I don't even remember what it was, but my knees have been really, really sore since I started this new regime. And I was recognizing how easy it is to slip into beating yourself up because you're not perfect, or that you're not doing it the way that you want to do it, or it doesn't look like the way you want to look. I always realized just the other day I was slimming down, and now I seem to have gone the other way. All these little self-criticisms, which interestingly, the symbol that said, they said, look in your books, and I just pulled the card out, and I thought it was really, really interesting. The universe is a great mirror because your belief system, which is ingrained in you, is reflected. If you're looking for happy, if you're and with that, and when I talk about that, I don't mean the bubbly type, and we're not going to look at the dark stuff. But whatever you see and whatever it is, because your judgments are in your eyes. And it's interesting because I've had clients and they're having problems with their eyes. And I try and say, well, the eyes are basically, they're looking at you. But it's very difficult to teach that. And it really is, because what do you mean they're looking at me? What am I seeing? And grief, sadness, all those things all come up. And then they talk about, well, I mean, I wear glasses. I've worn glasses pretty well most of my adult life. And very often we don't realize when we're a child, there's situations going on that you really are. I wanted to be well educated. I wanted to be a teacher. This is what I do now. And my father said, sorry, you're 15. You can go to work now. Bye. There you go. And there was no argument. I don't think the generations that have followed me have had to deal with that archaic viewpoint that the father of the house is law. When they say something, you do it or you get clobbered. I got clobbered a lot because that was the way. So you begin to be a little, your confidence isn't always right. And I wasn't at that point the most confident person. And I still can run into feeling very insecure about things. But I like this particular symbol that I picked that jumped out at me, is because when you're looking at something, you are judging it based on you, your beliefs, your attitudes. And we don't realize how often we have a judgment. Yesterday, I had a lunch with a gal I've known for years. I've known her since she was 15. I think she's 30 something now. And she was in town and we had lunch. And she just looks gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And I know all the things she's been through because I've known her since she was around 15, I think, maybe even 14. And it's really interesting watching how people have taken some of the things you've taught or some of the things you've been, and how they introduce them and how they believe in themselves, even when other people are not. She's an artist. And so we know what Larry's on here, and he's an artist, and they know the criticism they get, because art is very much a person's perception and how they perceive and how they say. So when we have a judgment, are we judging plus look at that. That looks great. That looks fantastic. Oh my goodness. And then say, I wish I was like that, or I wish I had that. Because now what you've done is you've made a judgment on yourself. When you look at someone and say, isn't that great that they have got and being able to do that? That means that you have an ability to be able to achieve that because you recognized it. All those things become incredibly, incredibly important. So when you're looking and relating and responding to the world, in a way, it is saying who you are. But what I really wanted to impress today was when you're by yourself and something goes wrong, how do you self-talk to yourself? What do you say? Do you criticize yourself? Do you beat yourself up because whatever's gone, off script, we'll say? Or do you support yourself, saying we can get through? Now, just as an aside, I have an appointment in the bigger city, which is about an hour to an hour and a half, basically, from here. Woke up this morning, and on the news, there's been a fire in one of the towns in between me and my appointment. Now, my appointment's not till 2 this afternoon, so there is lots of time. Right by the highway. We have a lot of fires around here in the summer. And this fire broke out last night, and it's right by the highway that I have to drive by. So, it's like thinking, well, my first thought was, oh, okay, so we're going to be, I have 2 o'clock, I'll be fine. There's lots of time. But there is another way to get to this town. Well, it's a city, actually, to the bigger city. It's a longer way, but it's a nice drive. So I considered that, but I'm taking a friend. And she said, oh, no, we'll be fine, So one of the things is what you think about it. Well, I know either way, either we're staying in a one lane, which means we have to wait in the heat. It's very hot here right now as traffic goes by, well, like from the other direction, or not. So we make decisions and choices like that. My idea would be to take the longer way around. So, but then it's just not me traveling this. So we'll see. I probably have another conversation about that. Because when it's hot and you're just sitting still, it's hot on the car, it's hot on you. Plus, it would be nice to see to drive around that other way. I haven't done that for several months, since last summer, actually. So what are we going to do? What do we do? What do we do when we find ourselves criticizing our own inner workings? Does that really, does that really mean I was going to say bad. Does that really mean we're not on our own side? I think it's habit. I think we get in the habit of being tough on ourselves, many of us. Many of us have had a rough childhood in some way, shape, or form. We grew up believing that we weren't, I was going to say right, perfect or something. Something wasn't right there because it wasn't easy flowing. I know it seems like when we grow up, there's some children that just seem to breeze through everything and everything works their way. Their parents are great. Everything flows. And then there's the rest of us that are trying to put everything together. And I think when you look back, sometimes you just have to accept that's how it was, because at some point in your life, you have to, what's the word? Hang on a minute. You have to really assess where you're heading and where you're going and what you're doing. You have to really come to a viewpoint of saying, okay, this is what it was. Now, what do I want? What do I bringing? And there's this feature that comes back onto the self so that you begin to project where you want to be. And that makes a difference. And that's where I was very, very thankful that very early I ran into my tarot teacher, which was about 3 or 4 years, I think, where I got the basics and then grew on that about how thought was so important. No one told me when I was young that how I thought was meant anything. If anything, I was probably criticized for it because I always used to think out of the box. You are an individual. And if you look in the sky at night, when it's clear, there's all these stars, and every star has its own light. It's all different. Even though it may look similar, it isn't. And that's what each one of us is. We are a star. We shine our own light. We shine it bright, we shine it big, or we don't. And it's not a judgment on whether we shine it big or not big. It's like, do we take opportunities? Like I had opportunities come my way and I took them. And some of them were pretty big at the time. You know, it's like, we want you to come down and try out for this TV show. Okay. And for 2 years, I was on every Monday morning on a local Vancouver, which is a big city, TV show reading tarot cards. Then I had the opportunity of doing my own cable show in the little, because I lived in a little town out of Vancouver. They wouldn't like me saying it was little, but it was, in comparison, it was. So I had my own cable show, so I learned a lot more there. So then I was offered to co-produce the psychic ESP fairs because I'd already was putting psychics in malls. Everything just kind of grew. Then for years, altogether 11 years, I either co-produced or produced psychic ESP fairs in the Pacific Northwest here. So it's like taking opportunity, yes, but you cannot ever achieve if you're going to be putting yourself down mentally all the time. So it's one thing to really remember, as it says in here, the universe has ears. It may not hear the words you say when you're saying words inside your head, but the vibration goes out. When you ever put yourself down, like even when you just say, oh, that was a silly thing to do, that's like lowering the sense of you. Even though we do things like that still, but we've got to counter those with good job, well done, keep on going, you can do this, it's workable, whatever. That's on your side. So you want that, you could say, the balance, then what it does is make a huge difference. Huge difference. And then other things happen, new things happen. Opportunities come in. COVID came along, everything in my world collapsed. No meditation classes, no clients in the place, nothing. So what happened? There's Zoom, where I can speak one-to-one. There's the internet, which I already had one, by the way, and most of you know that. I used to do movie reviews. Little hobby of mine, going to see movies. And all of a sudden, there's a whole different world. And a lot of things changed over those several years, because it wasn't just 1 year or 6 months or a year. It went on. I think 2 or 3 years anyway. And even then, it didn't really open back up. And I went and said, do it. And I looked at where I lived, and I went, no, I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing now. So support you in the direction of where you're going and what you're doing. Support who you are. And what you'll find, how I began to do this, sorry about that, I'm going to have a little water here. As I sit back here, and it's kind of like I have a scanner, so I can catch myself if I'm beginning to mentally beat myself up, or if I'm sort of not really paying attention. Thoughts are like a garden. They have to be weeded. And if you don't weed them, if you don't catch those ones, which then you all know my theory, freeze, evaporate, replace. If you don't do that consistently, weeds come in. And the next thing you know, you're not feeling great, things are not working great, etc. doesn't mean that everything is always like a wonderful cherry pie. No, we have challenges, and that's part of the humanity. But at the same point, we can keep ourselves in a framework that life works, and then we find it does. Things happen that work effectively. So I think that's about all I have. It's funny this morning because I'm talking about this. I'm having like blur, like little blanks or something. So I don't feel as though I'm talking as easily as I normally do. Well, that's what happens sometimes. Karen, good morning. And I see you made another take the alternative. That's how I feel actually, because we've got time. We got a lot of time, and it would be nice to see a different view because usually we just hip up the freeway and back. Leroy, good morning. Yeah, I'm actually was going to email you this morning, and I probably right after this, if my friend hasn't arrived, which I'll phone her and say, look, let's go the other way. But we'll, yeah, I'll be in contact with you. I really want to say I appreciate your support. I appreciate that you're here because it always feels like you're actually talking to a person than just your own reflection. So I really want to say, have a great day. And just remember every now and again, sit back down and listen to your own self-talk. When something's going on, how are you supporting yourself getting through whatever? When I was limping around here yesterday, saying, come on, you can do this. Keep on, get up, you can find it. It'll be fine. And my knees go, oh, do we really have to do this? And I go, yes, come on, we can do this. We can do this. Because my knees are the knees with their complications. So we're a team, and we are going to do this. In the meantime, you have a great day. This is Wednesday. I shall be back early on Friday. Thank you. Blessings to all of you. Bye now.